Hi, and a very good day, Doctor and my friends. We are from Group 1. Would like to present topic 1 today. I'm Sharwini Chandran. Would like to discuss on first subtopic and second subtopic with my grouping. First of all, I would like to define what is cost volume profit analysis. Cost volume profit analysis, or known as CVP analysis, is actually a way to find out how changes in variable and fixed costs affect a firm's profit. Companies can use or should use the CVP analysis to see how many units they need to sell to break even, which means to cover all the costs to reach a certain minimum profit margin. At this slide, you can see that there's three factors that are affect the company's profit, which are sales, variable, and fixed costs, and then the last one is the price. All right. Next, we would like to see what are the importance of CVP analysis. Why CVP analysis is important? Because it is to determine the level of sales at break-even point, which is BEP. Next is to determine the level of sales to achieve the targeted profit. Third is to set up the selling price of the product in order to achieve the profit target. Last one is to making the decisions regarding fixed costs and marketing strategies. Okay, next slide is about assumption in CVP analysis. Okay, CVP analysis can be assumed if all units produced are sold, and next, cost can be classified accurately, either the variable and also fixed. Third is cost and the revenues are linear. Fourth is sales price, variable cost per unit, and total fixed costs are constant. In multi-product companies, the sales mix is constant, and in manufacturing companies, inventories does not change, which means that the unit produced will be equals to unit sold. Next, we will move on to a second subtopic, which is break-even point analysis method. There are three types of method, which is equation method, contribution method, and graph illustration method. Okay, before I proceed to equation method, I would like to explain you about what is break-even point. Break-even point can be defined as the level of operation at which a business's revenues and total costs are exactly equal, and the businesses will be experience a zero profit, which means there's no profit or no loss situation. Break-even point can be represented in unit or RM. We should know that the smaller the BEP, the better it is. Okay, which this means that the BEP can be achieved in shorter time, thus can generate profit in shorter time too. All right. Next, I'll show you what are the equation that we have to use. Okay, these are the equation, which is profits is equals to sales minus variable expenses minus fixed expenses, or can say it as sales is equals to variable expense plus fixed expense plus profit. And here we should know that the profit should be zero, as I mentioned to you earlier. All right. To understand, to get a clear picture, I've provided you an example. This shows the information from Whiter Company about the land movers. Okay, and here it shows the total price per unit, and also the percentage of sales, variable expense, contribution margin, fixed expense, and also the net operating income. Okay, I'll use this information to substitute into the equation method. Okay, sales is equals to, I would like to use this equation, which is sales is equals to variable expense plus fixed expense plus profit. Okay, I like to substitute the above information into this equation, which is 750 is a unit selling price. This Q shows the number of movers sold, or known as the quantity. Okay, The 250 is actually unit variable expenses, which means variable expenses per unit. Fixed expenses is the total fixed expense, then profit should be 0. After that, we will use the normal mathematical calculation to find out the value of Q, which means the unknown should be on your left hand side and the whole number should be on your right hand side. So now we will get Q is equals to 180 movers, or can say it as unit sold is 180 land movers. These are the break-even point in units. Next, we're going to find break-even point in sales, which is in RM. Okay, you'll use the same equation, which is sales is equals to variable expenses plus fixed expenses plus profit. But over here, the X shows that we're going to find the X. This X shows the total sales in RM. And this 0.60, it shows actually the variable expenses as a percentage of sales. Okay, we convert the percentage into the decimal, we'll get 0.6x plus the fixed expense should be the total fixed expenses, and the profit will be again RM 0. Okay, after that we will use the same mathematical calculation to find out the value of X, and we will get the break-even point in sales is RM 225,000. So now our break-even point will be 180 and 225,000. Okay, I hope that you have a clear picture on equation method. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bhavani Dr. of Raghunathan, metric number 277978. I'm going to continue the presentation regarding break-even analysis. I'm going to present about contribution margin method and the relationship between cost, volume, profit through graphical. First of all, we look at the contribution margin method. This method has two key equations, which is break-even points in units sold and break-even point in total sales dollar, which is RM. Take a look at this contribution margin statement of a bike company. Each bike selling price is RM 500, which is equals to 100%. The variable cost for each bike is RM 300 and the contribution margin will be RM 200. And the ratio of contribution margin is 0.4, which is 40%. We're going to use this statement and apply to the two key equations and also the relationship between cost, volume, profit through graph. The formula for break-even points in units sold is fixed expenses divided by contribution margin per unit. In order to solve that, first we have to find contribution margin per unit. We take the selling price per unit minus the variable cost per unit, which is RM 500 minus RM 300, which will equals to RM 200 per unit. This contribution margin per unit will be RM 200, and we take this RM 200 and replace in our above equation. So that fixed expenses RM 80,000 divided by RM 200 will give us 400 units. It shows that the break-even point in units sold is 400 units. The second key equation is break-even point in total sales dollars. The formula is fixed expenses divided by contribution margin ratio. First, we have to find contribution margin ratio to solve the above equation. The formula of contribution margin ratio is contribution margin per unit divided by the selling price of per unit. RM 200 is divided by RM 500 will give us 0.4, which is equals to the ratio. We take this 0.4 and replace in our above equation to find the break-even point in total sales dollars. Fixed expenses of RM 80,000 divided by 0.4 will give us RM 20,000. It shows that the break-even point in total sales dollars is RM 20,000. Next, we're going to take a look at the income contribution margin income statement at sales of 500 bikes and sales of 400 bikes, which is our break-even point units sold. The increase in sales revenue of RM 50,000 shows that there is an increase in contribution margin about RM 20,000. By multiplying the RM 50,000 with contribution margin ratio 0.4, we will get the break-even point in total sales dollars, which is RM 20,000. From this, we can conclude that if the bike company able to increase the sales by RM 50,000, it will increase the contribution margin by RM 20,000, which is RM 50,000 times 40%. We're going to take a look at the relationship between cost, volume, profit through graph. The relationship among revenue, cost, profit, and volume can be expressed graphically by preparing a cost volume profit graph. To illustrate this, we will use the contribution income statement for the bike company, the same example at 300, 400, and 500 units sold to get a better and a clear picture of the cost volume profit graph. First step preparing a cost volume profit graph is that we have to draw two axes. The first axis is horizontal axis, axis X represent units, and vertical axis, axis Y represent amount, which is dollars or in RM. And we have to label these two axes with appropriate scale according to the information given. Moving on, the second step is we have to draw a straight line parallel to x-axis at total fixed expenses point, which is RM 80,000, and label the line as fixed expenses as shown in the diagram in the slide. In the third step, we have to draw a straight line starting from where the fixed expenses line intersect the dollar axis, which is y-axis, as shown in the slide. This line is known as total expenses line. Fourth step, we have to draw a straight line from the origin 0 passing through the total expenses line. This line will be named as total sales. Our final diagram, as shown in the slide, we can determine the answer we are looking for. The intersection point between total expenses and total sales line shows the break-even point we are looking for. In this diagram, the break-even point is 400 bikes sold or sales revenue of $200,000. The left side below the intersect point is the loss area, where if the company sell less than 400 bikes, they will ending up facing loss. The right side above the intersect point is profit area, where if the company sell more than 400 bikes, they will generate more profit. That's how we have to analyze the cost volume profit graph. I'm ending my presentation right here. Thank you for your attention.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day to Dr. and fellow classmates. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Hafizia Derani Binti Nuri, metric number 277234. So I will continue to the part 1.3 sensitivity analysis and cost volume profit application. At this part, I will explain about what if analysis. What if analysis perform a response to changing business condition. First, what if the sale price change? Second, what if cost change? And the third, what is the sales mix change? So let's take a look at this first part, which is changes in fixed cost and sales volume. So what is the profit impact if freezing can increase unit sale from 500 to 540 by increasing the monthly advertising budget by $10,000? We can see here that unit is increasing by 14 units and the fixed expense also will be increased by $10,000. So let's take a look at the income statement. At the left side is the current sale. We can see it from the previous slide. And the right one is the project sale with the new unit 540 unit buy. So the sale revenue actually will be increased by $20,000. We get it for 500 multiplied by 440 and less variable expense. We get $162,000, 300 multiplied by 440, and the new contribute margin is $108,000. Less fixed expense, the new fixed expense is $19,000, then the new income is $18,000. We can see here that the sale increased by $20,000, but the net operating income actually decreased by $2,000. This shows that it's not a very good choice to have the advertising and the company need to consider it. So this is the shortcut how we can get it. So we can see that increase in contribute margin, we just need to 40 unit multiplied by $200. So we get $8,000. And we can see here that the increase in contribute margin is actually lower than increase in advertising expense. So it will affect the net operating income. It will be decreased by $2,000. So an increase in contribute margin is more than offset by increased advertising costs. So at the next part is changes in variable cost and sales volume. What is the profit impact if resin can use higher quality raw material, thus increasing variable cost per unit by $10 to generate an increase in unit sale from 500 to 518 units? At this part, the company decide to use higher quality raw materials, so the variable expense will be increased, and the unit also will be increased 18 units. So at the income statement, the sale revenue, the new sale revenue is 500 multiplied by 580, we get $219,000. That's variable expense. The new variable expense, we need to plus it with 10. So 310 multiplied by 580, we get 179,800. The new contribution margin is 10,200. Let's fix the expense 18,000. Then the new income is 30,200. So the sale will be increased 40,000, and the net operating income also will be increased by 10,200. So move to the next part is changes in fixed cost, sale price, and volume. So we have the three things that we need to consider it. So what is the profit impact if resin cut its selling price $20 per unit and increase its advertising budget by 15 per month and increase sale from 500 to 350 unit per month? So we can see that the unit increases by 150 unit, but at the same time the price also will be lower by $20. So let's take a look at the income statement, how we can get it. So the sale revenue, the new sale revenue will be 418 as we less it by 20. So $418 multiply by 615 unit, we get $312,000. That's the variable expense. 300 multiplied by 650, we get $195,000. So the new contribution margin is $117,000, and the last fixed expenses we get is $95,000 as the new advertising fee is $15,000. So the new income is $22,000. So we can see that the impact is new operating income is increased by $2,000. So let's move to the changes in variable cost, fixed cost, and sales volume. So what is the profit impact if resin paid a $15 sales commission per bike sold instead of paying salesperson for a salary that currently total $6,000 per month and increase unit sale from 500 to 575 bikes? So at this statement, we know that the company decide to change the way they pay for the salespersons. They will not longer use flat salary but just give the commission per bike. So let's take a look at the income statement. So at the sale revenue is still the same. We just need to 500 multiply by 575. We get 287,500. Less variable expense. At this part, we need to pass it with $15 as the commission. So 200 plus $15 multiplied by 650, we get $181,125, and the new contribute margin is $106,275, and less fixed expense. At this part, we need to minus it with $6,000 as we no longer use the flat salary. So the new fixed expense is $74,000, and the new net income is $32,375. So we can see here that the sales increase, the variable cost increase, but the fixed expense decrease as we no longer use the flat salary, and the impact for the net operating income increased by $12,375. So that's from my side. So if you guys don't understand, you may ask me a question later. Right now, I will pass the floor to my group member. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Aiman Haika bin Suhaimi. My metric number is 280458 and I will be continuing the slide from here. So, suppose RBC has one-time opportunity to sell 150 bikes to a wholesaler. There would be no change in the cost structure as a result of this change. Racing wants the one-time sale to produce a profit of 3,000. What selling price should RBC quote to the wholesaler? So let's look at the next slide. If we desire a profit of 3,000 on the sale of 150 bikes, we must have a profit of $20 per bike. The variable expenses associated with each bike are $300. So we would quote a selling price of $320. You can see the proof of the quote in the blue schedule. Target profit analysis. The equation and contribution margin methods can be used to determine the sales volume needed to achieve a target profit. We can either use either method to determine the revenue or units needed to achieve a target level of profit. Suppose RBC want to earn a net income of $100,000. How many bikes must the company sell to achieve this profit level? So, a better look of the CVP equation method. Instead of setting profit to 0 like we do in break-even analysis, we set the profit level to $100,000. Solving for Q, we see that the company will have to sell 900 bikes to achieve the desired profit level. The contribution margin is a quick way to solve this problem by adding the desired profit to the fixed cost and divide the total by the contribution margin per unit. Notice we get the same result of 900 bikes. So, based on the slide shown, you have probably heard of salesperson can be compensated on a commission basis. The commission is usually based on sales revenue generated. Some salesperson work on salary plus commission. When a salesperson are paid a commission based on sales dollar generated, the income statement impact may not be fully understood. So let's look at an example. By the example given, Pipeline Unlimited produced 2 surfboards. The XR7 model sells for $100 and has a contribution margin per unit of $25. The second surfboard, the Turbo model, sells for $150 and has a contribution margin of $18 per unit sold. The sales force at Pipeline is paid on sales commission. If you look at this slide on the sales force, you would try to sell all the turbo models you could because it has a higher selling price per unit. The problem is that the XR7 model produces a higher contribution margin to the company. It might be a good idea for Pipeline to base its sales commission on contribution margin rather than selling price alone. So that is all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to Dr. Danilah and my fellow friend. My name is Nur Akina binti Abdul Ghani. My matrix number is 277985. I will continue to discuss for part cost structure and profit stability. For this part, there are advantages and disadvantages of higher fixed costs with lower variable costs and lower fixed costs with higher variable costs. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? So let's see. So the advantages of higher fixed cost structure is that company will generate more income in good year compared to the company who have a lower proportion of fixed costs. For the disadvantages, company who have a higher fixed cost structure will also face a lower income in bad year compared to the company who have a lower proportion of fixed costs. Even though company who have a higher fixed cost structure will show a higher net income in good year, company who have a lower proportion of fixed costs will enjoy greater stability whether in good year or bad year compared to those who have a higher fixed cost structure. Operating leverage. Operating leverage is measure how sensitive net operating income to percentage change in sales. Operating leverage is used to calculate a company break-even point and help to set appropriate selling price to cover all costs and generate profit. We can calculate the degree operating leverage by using this formula, which is contribution margin we divided with net operating income. As we can see from example here, after we're done with income statement, we can simply determine the degree operating leverage. So the degree operating leverage here is 5, where we divided 100,000 with 20,000. The percent in profit will increase also if the company decided to increase its sale. From example here, racing company have decided to increase its sale by 10%. Therefore, we can find the percentage increase for profit by multiplying degree operating leverage with increase in sale. Here we see that 10% we times up with 5, we get 50% increase for profit. So increase in sale will also affect other things. For example here, we can see that the sales, variable expenses, contribution margin, and net operating income is increasing except for the fixed expense. So we can see that the net operating income increased from 20,000 to 30,000. We can simply calculate it by multiplying 10% with the number. For example, 250,000 we times up with 10%, we got the 275,000, and it's same for the other part. In order to identify whether the firm is having a high operating leverage, there is some characteristic we can take a look. High operating leverage company have a higher level of fixed costs and lower level of variable costs, and they also have a higher contribution margin ratio. For high operating leverage company, changes in volume significantly affect operating income, so they also face a higher risk and higher potential for reward. Example for a firm who have a high operating leverage is a hotel, rental car, and airlines. There are also characteristics we can take a look in order to determine whether the firm is having a low operating leverage. Low operating leverage company have a higher level of variable cost and lower level of fixed cost. They also have a lower level of contribution margin ratio. For low operating leverage company, changes in volume do not have a significant effect on company operating income, so they will face a lower risk and lower potential for reward. Example of firm which has a low operating leverage is merchandising company. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good day to Madam and all of you. Before we proceed with the next one, I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Nurul Ismaniza Atira binti Muhammad Ali, matrix number 277095, and currently I am in SEM 3. Okay, now I will explain to you about the next subtopic, which is margin of safety. What is margin of safety? It is an excess of expected sales over break-even sales. The company can utilize the margin of safety to know how much sales can decrease before the company or a project incurring a loss. It is used to evaluate the risk of current operations as well as the risk of new plans. In accounting, the margin of safety is equal to current sales level minus break-even point, then dividing by the current sales level and multiple with 100 because the result is expressed as a percentage. The margin of safety formula can also be expressed in number of units, which is calculated by subtracting the break-even sales in units from the expected sales in units. It can be expressed in dollar amounts too. When you multiply the margin of safety in units with the sale price per unit, you will get the margin of safety in dollars. Next, let us see an example. If we assume that Racing Bicycle Company has actual sales of $250,000, given that we have already determined the break-even sales to be $200,000 and the margin of safety is $50,000 as shown. How can we get $50,000? So, first, we need to subtract the break-even sales, which is $200,000, from the actual sales, which is $250,000. After that, we need to divide the margin of safety, $50,000, by the actual sales, which is $250,000. Then we will get 0.2. Since we need to express it in percentage, we will multiply 0.2 with 100, so the final answer will be 20%. Moving on to the next example. Okay, the margin of safety can be expressed in terms of number of units sold. The margin of safety at racing is $50,000 and each bike sells for $500. To get the margin of safety in units, we just simply divide $50,000 by $500, which is equal to 100 bikes. Alright, I think that's it from me. Thank you for your attention.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Fatin Izzati binti Bakari. My metric number is 277616. Without further ado, I will continue my presentation. Okay, I will explain 1.5. It's about CVP for a multiply product company. Before that, we need to know the concept of sales mix. What is sales mix? The sales mix is the relative proportion in which a company's products are sold. Let's say, for example, when a company sells more than one product, break-even analysis become more complex because of the relative mix of the products sold. So different products have different selling price, cost structures, and contribution margin. To get more understanding about this, let's assume Racing Bicycle Company sells bicycle and chart, and that the sales mix between the two products remain the same in our examples. Okay, here, as you can see, this is the information of Racing Bicycle Company. They sell two products, bicycle and chart. So to multiply product break-even analysis, we need to total for the both of product. For example, the sale of bicycle 250,000 plus with the sales of chart, then we get total sales 550,000. So we can assume that the sales mix shows that 45% of the company's sales revenue come from the sales of bicycle and 55% come from the sales of chart. Okay, next let's look at contribution margin for each product. Notice that we subtract fixed expenses from the total contribution margin and we do not allocate the fixed cost to each product. And if you want to know how to get 48.2%, we just need to take the amount, total contribution margin amount 265% divided by total sales 550,000, then you get 48.2% rounded. So we can conclude that the combined contribution margin ratios is 48.2% rounded. So let's look at the break-even analysis next. Okay, here this is the formula of break-even sale equal fixed expenses divided by contribution margin ratios. This is only a simple calculation and you will get break-even sale 352,697. After that, you need to allocate the total break-even sales revenue for the two products. 45% of the total is assigned to the bicycle and 55% to the chart. Okay, if you want to know how to get the amount, the sale mix of chart amount 193,983, you just need to take break-even sales amount 352,697 multiply with 55%, then you will get that amount. After that, the variable cost by product are determined by multiplying the variable expense percent times the assigned revenue. The contribution margin is the difference between the assigned revenue and variable expenses. Once again, we subtract fixed expenses from the combined total contribution margin for the two products. It is because we use a rounded contribution margin percent and we have a rounding error which is 176. So we can conclude that the more products a company has, the more complex the break-even analysis becomes. So I think that's all from me. If you have any question, any query, and even want to add something, just let us know. And thank you for listening.